things these days.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the GARF Network. I am Eric. Matt is having some technical difficulties, so he'll be joining us in a little bit. Today, we are having a very special episode. It's at 11 a.m. I think this is the first time we've ever broadcast in the morning, but it's for very good reason because we're bringing on our GARF ambassadors who are located around the world. So we kind of had to make do with everybody's time frame. So before we get into the main part of the show, I do want to mention that GARF Network broadcasts are brought to you for free by the George Romero Foundation. If you'd like to make a donation, there's a couple of different ways you can do that. The first one is by visiting our main website. You can check out everything we've got going on, all of our latest news, everything that's going on with the GARF Ambassadors and the GARF Global project. And you can, I think I mentioned already, you can make a donation there. And you can also sign up for our newsletter that comes out quarterly. You can also make a donation via Patreon, where we have multiple subscription levels from $3 on up. And we have exclusive Patreon videos and content over there. So without any further ado, I want to bring on our GARF Global Coordinator, as well as our GARF UK Ambassador, Mr. Colin Corcoran. How you doing, sir?
Morning, Eric. How are you doing?
Great. It's morning here. I think it's about dinner time over there in the UK.
It is. It's afternoon here. Yeah, I'm glad you alluded to the various time zones. We do have to manage quite disparate time zones, and so thank you for doing a morning broadcast for us. I think the most extreme we've had is we've had to pull in LA at the same time as Japan, which I think is like 14 hours. So somebody's always up in the middle of the night, and usually, as we'll get on to, it's one of our poor ambassadors. But today we've managed to just about work it, so everybody's pretty much up during their normal hours, normal social hours, certainly. So yeah, so we're all very happy to be on. The GARF Global Empire is growing. We've now there's four of us, four ambassadors. I think the last time I was lucky enough to be on the show, there may have been just two, I think myself and one other. So we're expanding the network all the time. And I'm so pleased that we've managed to get some of the guys on today for a good chat, because they've got some really exciting things going on in their respective territories. We've got Paolo in Italy, and he's got some really exciting stuff that he's going to be talking to us about. He's got a lot of contacts in Italy, that are, really putting together some good horror stuff, old and new. We've got Norman in Japan, Norman England, who I think you guys may know, because he's a bit of an expat. He's not so much an Englishman in New York as more of an American in Tokyo. And he's got some really exciting stuff on the boil in his territory with regard to some projects that he's working on that I'll let him explain further about, and maybe some good exciting GARF stuff we want to get off the ground over there. And we've also got Julien, who I understand might be having some technical difficulties as well, but he's our man in France. And again, he's got some great stuff going on. He's quite the prolific author, and he's got a few books that if he manages to get on, he'll be happy to tell us about, and they'll be great to hear, because they really are extensive pieces of work, and they go right into some really good subject matter. I'm running a bit of a sweepstake on Julien. I'm tempted to think he could be exactly 1 hour late because he may
test your theory.
Yeah, he may have got the time.
Hopefully not.
a little bit out there, which to be fair, when you're trying to manage 4 or 5 across the globe, it can get a bit complicated. And then recently, going a bit off topic, but recently, of course, we've had British summertime and then the daylight saving time, so the gap changes, and then you have to factor that in. So it's something that we manage across GARF Global, but we've managed to manage it with some success. And like I say, thanks for doing the morning broadcast for us.
Absolutely, and you answer however you want. I'm curious because I'm not sure. Are we still looking for further ambassadors, or is that kind of shut down at the moment?
No, we always are. We're in discussion with some guys across the social media platforms now, and once we're in a bit of a phase where we're starting to, fingers crossed, move out of the lockdown phase and into maybe being able to do things a bit more in person, a bit less virtually, a little bit more face to face. So as those opportunities open up, hopefully we'll be able to get out there a bit more and potentially, grow the team. So we're always looking to grow the team, and that's something that we're looking at seriously Q4 this year and beyond.
Excellent. Speaking of growing the team, Matt, do you want to try and hop in and see all the connection? There he is.
Hey, sorry about that, guys. That's modern technology for you. I apologize for missing the intro and everything, Colin.
Oh no. Uh-oh.
See, I'm a bit disappointed because usually this is me. This is me that the one that brings these problems.
Yeah, we were counting on you for this.
Exactly. Yeah, this is what I do. So Colin's on the call. He'll be the one that freezes in some sort of embarrassing facial expression.
Right. Well, without any further ado, do you want to go ahead and let's bring on our ambassadors? Let's bring them on one at a time.
Yeah, let's bring on Paolo and introduce Paolo to the crew.
Hey, Paolo.
Hello.
How you doing?
Hey, Paolo.
I will just say this and then I'll leave Paolo to give us his little bit of introduction. So I often fall foul of speaking too fast for Paolo. Paolo's obviously English is his second language. I will say his English is a lot better than my Italian, which is pretty much a non-existent. So I'm still trying now and probably still failing, but just treat Paolo with a little bit of a slow speech and then we'll get all the great info. How's it going, Paolo?
It's fine. Very happy to be here. Talking about you guys, the great ambassadors, carry on George's legacy here in Italy. Of course, I have to start saying that, in Italy, American horror has been always loved a lot. And talking about that, I guess that George is one of the most beloved directors ever. Maybe the fight is just between him and John Carpenter. So they were very good friends, so it's fine anyway, And, I'm proud to remember, one of the last great satisfaction of George's life is being coming to Lucca Film Festival, where I organized the retrospective, and we gave him like the award, the Careers Award. And lots of people from all over Italy came there to express George their full love. And George, of course, he wasn't completely unprepared about the love from Italian fans, but he really was overwhelmed, and he kept remembering me how deeply moved he was for the warmth expressed to him by the Italian fans. So. I always have great memories, and right now with the creation of the foundation and other projects that are being going on, there is a huge interest. The interest is always there, and the love of the fans is always there. I've been contacted by many people with a lot of congratulation and curiosity about the GARF Foundation. They want to know what we do, what you do, guys, what could be the immediate, and also the amusement park thing was a great people. Oh, I didn't know about that. I want to see that, and all these questions. So I guess that George is still with us, at least in Italy, and we will. I mean, at least for what I can do. I would do my best not to change this situation. I would, now we had this pandemia thing, this pandemic hell. But as soon as it's possible, and I hope really now, I want to organize events, retrospective, anything with you guys, even here in Italy. Last thing I did a couple of years ago in Pordenone we remember George. I introduced Night of the Living Dead at the Pordenone Festival, and that was great. So I hope I can do that more and more and more and more, and also introducing new movies to the Italian audience. For example, I'm not saying new, but I'm always being a little bit sad that a movie like Night Riders didn't get any theatrical release here in Italy. And considering it one of George's masterpieces, I really would like to, I would like Italian audience know that much better, because it's never been dubbed. And so there is these language barriers and stuff, never been distributed properly. So of course the hardcore fans know it anyway. Now we have the Blu-ray, the DVDs, whatever. But that's one of my desire, is to have Italian audience know better and better Night Riders.
Yeah, that's similar in the UK. I would say, Night Riders and Bruiser, and maybe to a slightly lesser extent, Martin, could do with a lot more attention.
Martin, I could say the same, because of course we added that here, but we had Vampire, the Dario completely different edited version that actually I don't like very much. Actually, I'd like to Italian audience know the George version much better. So,
Paolo, do you know? Can you confirm? Is that legit? Was that legitimately cut together by Dario?
Well, don't ask me stuff that really in a very bad situation. But no, I have no idea actually.
I always thought that was just a rumor. Yeah, I didn't know if that was true or not.
I don't think so. Considering the relationship between George and Dario, I don't think that, So, but I have no idea. I've never heard about that. It's the first time.
Yeah.
So I can't help you, and I wouldn't help you anyway if you knew. So.
Well, also we have Mr. Norman England in the green room. I guess we'll go ahead and bring him on here.
Let me out. Let me out. Hello, and I'm with Miyako here.
Hey, Miyako.
Hi, Miyako.
Nice to see you.
Hey, Miyako. How's it going?
Hello, everybody. I'm Miyako.
She's going to introduce herself first. So here.
I have normal with GARF in Japan on Twitter, Japanese writing. I like Romero movie. I love horror. So I work at the Suspiria bar in Tokyo. I'm happy to help GARF.
Awesome.
How about that?
Ding. That's a great idea.
Let me give her a gold star. Okay.
Perfect comment.
Sorry, my English is not good. So I'm watching this in my room.
Okay. Thank you, Jacob.
Okay.
See you.
No, I wanted to,
Bye.
See you.
Okay, see you. See you.
Oh,
Her
Here, hold on. Let's
great.
No, I wanted to show. I mean, it's kind of weird. Like, Paolo, he's Italian, he's in Italy, and Julien's French, and he's in France, and the guy in Japan is like an American guy. So it's kind of it's a little bizarre in a way. But I mean, generally speaking, Japanese people don't have like generally, a high English proficiency. So I mean, of course, some people do, but it's kind of weird for such a first world country to have such a low level of English, but anyway, I mean, it's like, talking about myself and my own work in Japan. I mean, I moved to Japan in '93, and, so just about going 28 years, 29 years. Yeah, it'll be 30 years soon enough. But I mean, it's always been like, I've been a fan of George's work, since, I would say, since 1968. I didn't see Night of the Living Dead in the theaters, but I heard about it and I read about it in magazines. Then seeing Night of the Living Dead on TV in New York, and from New York. So I guess the first TV broadcast, like 73, 72, 73, when it had like the dramatization, under all, so that was like my first introduction to George's stuff. And then, of course, over the years. But anyway, coming to Japan, I was lucky that, I picked a country that actually really loves George's work. George's films are, very highly regarded here. I mean, he's got a lot of fans here. I'm glad I didn't wind up in a country where it was like nothing, you know what I mean? Nothing about him. So, I mean, I was pretty lucky that I would say, like, how did this happen? I guess like 90, I moved here in 92. So, I was, I didn't really have friends living in Osaka, and I was going to like, looking for like-minded friends, people who like the movies that I like, which has always been a thing. And so I started going to where they would sell movie poster events in Osaka. I lived in Osaka. Boy, I'm such an idiot. I used to be able to get the Japanese Dawn of the Dead poster, the original one, for $5. And I bought a bunch of them. I gave them out to a bunch of friends. I don't have one for myself. And I'm looking back on eBay. It's like $200, $300. Like, somebody give me one back. But anyway, from there, I got involved. Oh yeah, that's right. I guess Dario needed money, so or maybe it was like with I can't remember how it was, but the Italians sold the rights, like a long-term licensing deal they did with a Japanese company here. And I went to see, they Dawn of the Dead 35 millimeter prints back in the theater, 1994. I'm like, holy crap, this is great. I love this country. I haven't seen it in the theater, Dawn, since like 85, 84, something like that. When it went on to VHS in 83, it was like, I first saw Dawn in 1980 in February on the first re-release. And then, 50 something times until it was taken off. So I was really happy, but they were showing, the so-called director's version, and they had a thing inside saying like, everybody in Japan loves the Argento version. The Argento version's, the deal. And I took great offense at this. Sorry, Paolo, because I'm a big fan of the American theatrical release. So I wrote the company and I said, you guys, what you wrote in your program book for the thing is completely wrong. This is an insult to George Romero. They wrote me back and they said, we love this. We love what you're telling us. We're going to release these on Laserdisc. Can you write something for us? So that's really like a very big turning point in my life, I would have to say. I mean, I know a lot of guys who work on George's films. Tom Savini said this to me personally. He goes, I am where I am because of George. And in my own kind of fanish type of way, it's the same thing for me as well. I mean, I got this gig writing for, maybe some of you know it, I have it right here, the Perfect Collection, which was the world's first gathering of all three versions together. And then there was the cool thing in the inside, and then I did this is the first time anybody did a thing with the, my idea was to promote the Monroeville Mall as a character. So this was a map I picked up, and I these are photos I took of the mall back in '83. And from doing this job, I got myself involved with going to the Biohazard 2 TV commercial that George did for Capcom. They wanted to have a Romero expert on hand. Great. They flew me out. It was like, holy crap. They flew me to Hollywood. I had my own suite with a fireplace in it. Like George is down the hallway, and and it was like, how in the world did this happen? I mean, I had met George already. I went to the Day of the Dead staff and cast screening in '85. So that was my first time. I just have to say, this is one of my life brag points, but it was like, I think it was the first screening, the cast was there, the staff was there. And I got involved because I had done some rental stuff for John Harrison's soundtrack when they were mixing the soundtrack in New York at the same time. So what I did in the theater was, I was like, screw it. Me and my brother are there. I'm like, man, let's just do it. And we sat ourselves right in front of George and Christine. Like, if this guy's going to judge this movie, He's going to judge this movie based on the back of my head reaction, you know, and it was great. It was fantastic. So yeah, anyway, so then doing the biohazard thing, you know, George was, you know, and it was, you know, you always have images of people and you don't know the people. And I have to say, most of the time when I finally meet the people that I've always admired, I'm always disappointed. And I was not disappointed with, you know, who George was, how he talked to me. You know, I mean, there was no different. It wasn't like, who are you? What's your status? It wasn't like that. I mean, it's just like we were all, you know, I mean, we're all people, you know, and he listened to.
Norman, George was one of those people that even if you didn't see him for like 10 years, after 5 minutes, you feel like you never left him. You know, it was that he put you in a state of comfort that is really uncommon. Mostly if you think that, you know, you're approaching your idol or whatever. George was just the sweetest person in
no, I was like, I mean, we were like, he's shooting zombie scenes. It was the first film set I've ever been on. I've been on hundreds since, but it was my first film set. And George would be like, okay, cut, turn to me and say, Norman, what did you think? And I'm like,
Wow.
Well, you know, like what? And it was just this, you know, the sweetest, most relaxing, enjoyable, you know, week of my life. I mean, it was so fantastic. And from there, I became involved with Fangoria because I took photos on the set, and one of my photos became the cover of Fangoria. So this is one of the Mad George zombies that he did. So I wasn't a professional photographer or professional writer, really, but Fangoria was interested in having me cover the then budding J horror scene. So, I mean, I wound up writing for Fangoria. I mean, if you took all my articles and put them together, I guess I wrote like 7 or 8 full issues of the magazine. And since then, now I do a lot of other writing, and I got involved in cinema. You know, so today I do occasionally do set stills, and I do subtitles. I just subtitled Mike's new Yokai Daisenso, Great Yokai War, which hasn't been announced yet. I probably shouldn't say anything, but I just sent subtitles in today. It was one of the most difficult jobs. It's a wonderful movie. I'm so happy to work on a good movie again. But no, I mean, and like I said, it was really from that, my love of George and my reading this thing in a program book for Dawn of the Dead that said that they prefer the Argento cut, and me going, I'm not going to stand for that. It was that letter that I sent out, and they loved my point of view. That's what started my whole career. I mean, I've been working in the film business for 20 years here because of this. And I wish George was still here. I would like to thank him, you know, and that's one of the reasons, like, being involved with GARF for me is almost, in a way, my kind of way to, you know, pay back, make sure that George is remembered properly in Japan, you know, and that, like, wild stories, because there is, like I said, there is a big language barrier, you know. So I've worked on, a lot of, I'll show you, here's a book I did, the little thing called Zombie Maniacs. I did that. And I mean, I saw like stuff like this, and I did this one, which was, that says George A. You can just read the A, I'm sure. And we have the A on it. So, and see little Martin, like vampire razor blade there. And then my newest one, and some of you guys helped me with this, is my Saga of the Dead, which is this one. I was given like full reign to do whatever the hell I wanted to do. So it's kind of this is so far my big masterpiece of honoring George's Living Dead films, you know. But beyond that, you know, like Paolo was saying about Night Riders has been released in Japan here, and unfortunately, like in Italy, Night Riders was only shown on TV. So all they had was like an overdub version. This was the first time it ever got like a decent release, and it was because the person who runs this company called Stingray, they're a big DVD Blu-ray releasing company here. The boss at the company, his absolute favorite movie in the world is Knight Riders. So I don't think he made any money on this release, but he did this release because he wanted to make sure that this was available in Japan. It's now out of print. It goes for like $200 used.
Wow.
I got this one for free. I like a bet because it was like $50 to buy this, and and we were at an event together, and he had a couple that he was selling. I was like, you can give me a sample copy. So he sent me. And they released Martin, the Blu-ray of Martin, which is still the only Blu-ray, in Japan of Martin. So I did not work on this, but I've got other ones. I worked on this. This is a recent Dawn of the Dead one and Day of the Dead. Isn't that kind of nice?
Wow.
Cool.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Put that close. Put the lenticular closer.
I did the check this out. This one, it has this little
of course.
from the collection of Larry. And we also did this on this. We translated the original script into Japanese so people could see what George had intended. And then I put together this, the booklet for it inside. I designed this and did all the writing in Japanese. And this is Day of the Dead I worked on. You see that up there? That's the poster. And this is actually the bust that was used for doing the cover of this. And that's my hand saluting when we did the photo shoot.
That's cool.
And I also worked on this Blu-ray set. This one I did like 8 years ago. So we're trying to license the 4K version. So that's going to be maybe my swan song to, releases, not streaming stuff, because, everything's going streaming. Dawn of the Dead was recently shown on NHK, which is like the BBC or the PBS of Japan. So it's really, there's really been a lot of zombie stuff going on here. There was a big zombie TV show that was just on. It was terrible, but it was like popular actors and stuff. So no, I mean, there's a lot of, a lot of zombie stuff, and I'm making sure, on Twitter that people know that, this is George's thing. And a lot of people know, a lot of people keep it going. Just one other thing is I also write for this magazine. It's called Ega Hiho. This is our new cover. It just came today. I'm not happy with it, but this is our, but I do a monthly, I have a page, I do a monthly column, and I've written about George a couple times. And when we had Galen Ross and Ken Faree out here a year ago, just before the pandemic, we did big feature articles, interviews with them and stuff. And those shows, that they attended were sold out. I mean, it was really, even this was like, this is a version. The Japanese have they have one of their only, there's like 3 versions of Dawn of the Dead, and the Japanese have a sub version that comes from the Argento version. And they kind of censored it, like when, in the apartment scene in the beginning, when the woman bites, I guess whoever Miguel is, she bites the neck, it just freezes there as the audio goes underneath. And it's a very weird thing. They would tint things blue when there was a lot of blood or violence. And those original prints have all been lost, but they recreated it for the 40th anniversary here. And they can't legally sell this version. So they did it as a Kickstarter. People who contributed got a version of this. This is now going for over $1,000 on the Japanese version of eBay. And I'm like kicking myself. I should have told the company, give me 2 copies. I only got 1 copy. So you'll never get this from me. But anyway, I mean, that's kind of like, and, I mean, just like Paolo said, I mean, unfortunately, George, never visited Japan. There were so many times when he was just about to come, and then we had some natural disaster here, and I
believe there's an interview on that Laserdisc box set where he talks about, hopefully I can make it next year to Japan. I guess it never happened. I was a guest at Yubari Film Festival, and I hosted Dawn of the Dead. They did a new master, and they did a screening. George was supposed to be there for that, and he did an introduction. So we got a video introduction. It was like 2010, I guess.
So that was like another thing. And then even with a Biohazard, because Biohazard is, Resident Evil is what, you guys in the West know it is. Resident Evil is run by Capcom, and they, had hired George to write the script for the films. And George was, and this, you want to hear, this is the biggest awful story. One day I get this email from a guy, and it says, like, I think this is for you. And I had this email address, instead of my name being Norman, I had spelt it Noman, Noman, and George was sending me emails to the wrong address.
Oh, no. Oh.
Like, I'm planning to come to Japan. We got to get together and stuff. And then I wrote back, and when I got an answer from Jason, his old assistant then, he was like, oh, the whole deal fell through. So we're not coming out. Like, okay, well, at least whoever that guy was, we had like the same email address, except he had Norman with the R in it. At least he was like, kind of like, he wrote, I think these are kind of important. I still have that email, like, but it was, it's like what Paolo was saying. It was just George not forgetting, Norman's, really just a fan guy, especially at that point in my career, but he still, remembered me. We got along great on the set, and a lot of times it was fun for me because there were all these Japanese people there. None of them spoke English. It was just like me, George, and Jason. So it's just like, there we go. We're just, and the Japanese are all like, we love George Romero. And even when shooting, like one of the big guys at Capcom, who's like a famous video game designer, he was like, oh my God, I can't believe he's right there. And just to say, that's, a completely different culture from the US, the other side of the world. A completely different language, but they respond to his stuff, and not just the Living Dead stuff either. Martin is well regarded. All of his movies have been, Season of the Witch has been released here. The Crazies has been released. There's Always Vanilla has not been released. I don't expect it ever will. And then all his other, all his other films after, Day of the Dead. Those are all, readily available here. All his Living Dead films, Land of the Dead, Document of the Dead, Survival of the Dead, those all played theaters here. I went to see all of them, So yeah, he's like, and like Paolo said, he's kind of like him and Carpenter. Like, who do the Japanese love the most? It's like those two guys. I'll pick Romero, of course, but anyway, that's my little spiel on being, the GARF guy in Japan. So
Norman, how do they like Creepshow in Japan? Because
I love Creepshow. Yeah,
in Italy, after Dawn of the Dead is the most beloved movie is Creepshow. Everybody has there's a huge cult on Creepshow. Even myself is one of the first horror movie I ever seen. I was 9-year-old up in the mountain alone in the TV room. 10 p.m. in the afternoon, and I've seen Creepshow. I can never forget that experience. But a lot of people my age saw Creepshow on TV that same night. And there is a huge cult on Creepshow. So how about that in Japan?
No, Creepshow's big here, but there's something. We have a very sad situation when it comes to Creepshow. So there's some sort of rights issue with Creepshow. So it's only been Creepshow 2. Like when you go out trying to, like, I've been trying to find, I had been trying to find like the Creepshow DVDs out of print. It's going for hundreds of dollars to find a used copy of the thing, and Creepshow 2 is everywhere. Blu-ray, DVD, Creepshow 2. I'm not knocking Creepshow 2, but Creepshow is where it's at. So finally they announced Blu-ray coming out, Blu-ray Creepshow, Blu-ray coming out. It comes out, the thing is 1080i.
Ugh.
They did was they took the DVD master and they did upscale on the thing. It was like, and they charged $50 for this. You know, like it's still, I don't know what's going on. I mean, but when it came out, people were like rejoicing. Creepshow's on Blu-ray, and I'm like, it is not Blu-ray. It's 1080. Like Changeling, Japan, I think, is the only country that has Changeling on Blu-ray, and I borrowed it from a friend to watch it, 1080i. And Miyako were watching it. They're showing trees, like the trees are moving, and it looks like you're like on LSD or something. You know, she's like, "Oh, is that the filmmaker? Something the filmmaker was trying to do?"
No.
I'm like, I had to explain to her what the difference between the I and the P was, you know. But but anyway, I mean, that's our sorry state with. And I have to say, I begged Stingray to release the Blu-ray of this, and the guy's just like, it's just not selling. But I mean, I would love to do if we ever get back into the theaters again, to do a screening of this, because Dawn of the Dead plays all the time here. I mean, I would say like Dawn is in the theater 3 times a year in Tokyo, and a lot of the Italians, even, a lot of the Dario's films play in theaters all the time. The old films, they have revivals all the time. So yeah, this place is like really booming for, there's enough of a fan base to really, keep it going. That's why, Goblin guys come here. They sell out like right away, so yeah, no, I mean, I can't believe it. I just have to, because I talk a lot, but I just have to say, I mean, when the difference for me and you guys is like, I'm kind of like an older fan in this. And like, yeah, Creepshow, I went opening day, second day, third day. Next weekend, I was there, Friday, Saturday night, seeing Creepshow and, Night Riders. I mean, all of those things. But we didn't get any respect back then. That was like, the fan base was very small. And, it's really grown. And I'm always happy to see when there's like, younger people who weren't there at the time that still respond, to George's stuff, especially like his work in the 70s, or even like Amusement Park that's supposedly coming out here at some point. The pandemic's really screwed everything up.
Sue says the amusement park will be released in Japan, so she's watching.
Excellent. No, I'm saying, I don't know the details, and I don't know what I can say or what I can't say, but I know that yes, it will be released in Japan, and that I'm going to do whatever I can to promote it. I'm hopefully I really want to get the subtitle job for that, because I think that the film, the message of the film is it's a very delicate issue, a delicate subject, and it's a subject that I think the Japanese, ageism is a big problem. This is the country where like in 20 years everyone's going to be like, the average person is like over 50 years old, so I think the film is really going to strike a chord, with film fans here.
It's going to resonate here too. We've got a similar situation here, I think, with an aging population, and the pandemic's really seen a good positive impact on how they're treated. But I think it took something like that to make it happen, because it wasn't that great before. And something like that would probably resonate quite well, I think, given what's going on at the moment. It's going to be exciting to see it go kind of mainstream. But I was just thinking, Norman, you were making me think there about similarities between the UK and Japan with the fan base. And we don't get the screenings like you've talked about in kind of Tokyo. I don't see, certainly in perhaps London, Romero films being screened at all, really. Certainly not with any regular impetus, which would be great to see. So that's something that we need to try to look at here. And it's unfortunate, because what tends to happen is that if you do try to have a conversation around Romero's work, and even just if you had to rank some above others in terms of how they may have been heard of by the kind of masses or the general public, you put the Night or Day trilogy perhaps at the near to the top of that list, and you might be talking to somebody about Dawn. The first thing they'll do is they'll think you've said Shaun of the Dead. They think, oh no, you took, they think, oh, you've mispronounced Sean, which of course you haven't. You're trying to explain to them that there was something before that, and it's much better. Well, much better in certainly a lot of aspects, and we do struggle a bit. So one of the things we're trying to do here in the UK is spread that word, and it's getting easier, you know, with our presence on social media, and hopefully, you know, starting to get out and about towards the back end of this year. We've got a couple of events we're looking at getting involved in, one towards the back end of this year and one at Q1 2022. So hopefully we'll be spreading the word a bit more. But I'm pleased to see there's some cinema screenings in Tokyo. We do get Japanese fans come to the UK. Norman will know Yuko and that little clan. They've been able to come to the UK, which is great to see them here. And they don't have the best English, but they get here and they engage with the fandom and they engage with the guests that we get, and everyone gets on great, you know, which is always one good thing to see. So there is that global kind of presence there. We just need to.
Yeah, I think a lot of other Japanese would like to go, but a lot of them, they're very, I don't want to say shy, but they're inhibited because of their language ability. Yeah, that's a big difference. You know, as a New Yorker, you know, we have a lot of, you know, non-American people, non-native people there, so we're very like acclimated to, say, people whose English isn't perfect or whatever. You know, and the Japanese, because there's very, I think it's like 1% of the population here is not Japanese. You know, 1 or 2%, and then that's mostly other Asian countries. So they're very used to always speaking to people that speak exactly perfect Japanese, and they really have a lot of difficulty, you know, listening to foreigners or listening to people butcher their language like me, you know. So, and then that makes them, the reverse of it is also true. When they go out, suddenly they're like, you know, in a completely, you know, alien environment for them. I don't want to say it's like everyone is like that, because of course, you know, like Yuko, you know, I think Yuko's English is pretty good for Japanese people, and she's a very outgoing person. But a lot of the fans, you know, are here. A lot of the people are just a little too, inhibited to want to go out and make that big plunge there. I wish more would, you know. So
for me, all the Japanese directors that I interview, they always, even if they knew the new English, maybe even well, they would prefer the translation. Even Takeshi Miike, he wouldn't talk English with me. He would just use the Japanese translator. And Shimizu the same. I think Kiyoshi Kurosawa did the same in Venice. So it's pretty weird because right after the interview, and I'm talking about Takashi Miike, we kind of spoke when I went there asking for a signature, my poster and everything, and he was talking pretty well in English.
Oh, really? Okay. I've worked on movies with him, and I've done English dialogue coaching on his things, and he's never once spoken to me in English on the set. So there you go.
Well,
I mean, but I speak Japanese, so I guess that's, you know. But anyway, yeah, you're exactly right. You know, like, I don't know, it's just a thing, you know.
So,
well, let me ask you then, Paolo. How about it in Italy? You know, I mean, like when Goblin comes here, and you know, Claudio's English. I mean, he comes to the Suspiria bar. We hang out. I mean, he's very good. I mean, he's not perfect speaker.
He sent me the pictures a lot of times of that bar.
Well, you've seen pictures of me and Miyako, and no, and I mean, he's very outgoing, and you know, he's like, he just wants to communicate. You know, I think that's a big thing. You know, like, So that I'm always, I know I have a couple Italian friends here, and their English is all. You know, I wish my Japanese friends spoke as good English. You know, would be, you know, a relief for me.
In general, there is not such a huge knowledge of English language in Italy, and that's why, for example, you just can't have, like, you know, original movies into the theaters, because people wouldn't want to read the subtitles. They just don't want to do that, you know. And in countries like in Northern Europe, like Norway or Denmark, English is the second language, so they just can't go original version. It's basically thank God we have the best dubbing school of the world, if it's one of the best at least, because having watching the movies in the original languages in here is culturally forbidden, basically. And actually yesterday I want to see a movie that movie is called Lunay Porn, forbidden sex, Lunay Porn. It won the Berlin Film Festival. But anyway, before that there was the trailer, the trailer for the Wong Kar-wai full opera coming back restored in 4K to the cinema. And I've just seen that. And this week, every night, I've been watching the Wong Kar-wai movie from the Blu-ray, the Criterion box set. And looking at that yesterday, the trailer, listening to Tony Leung speaking in Italian, I said, no fucking way. It's just a way. It's just a behavior. It's just a cultural behavior, and that we don't have in here, and that's a shame. Also connected to the fact that you say that in Japan, in Tokyo, and I know that even in LA, for example, this old classic goes to the theater all the time. It's a dream come true. But in here, maybe in just a few cities, and in particular, like Cine Club or something like that, or inside some little festival. But otherwise, there's no such thing going on, unfortunately. And I think that right now they should do that all over the world. Right now, for the changement that this pandemic thing made it happen in terms of business. Okay, people that still are fighting owning a movie theater, they should understand that the only way to survive, I guess, is to organize a different experience, such an event, And I hope it's coming to Italy as well, because this is the only way, I think.
I was going to ask you guys, it was sort of based on your creep show question, Paolo, and it's for both Norman and Paolo. With George's catalogue and the zombie films and some others, how are the non sort of zombie, even maybe sort of non horror, as in like sort of the gore horror, like Bruiser and The Dark Half, welcomed over there? Okay, so you're basically asking, because I've lost you for a second. The not zombie project, how well are known in Italy, basically. That's the
like Bruiser and the
Dark Half.
Dark Half, yeah.
Well, yeah, they are not that big, to be honest. Actually, I don't recall. Like Bruiser had a very quick and almost forgettable release, to be honest. And The Dark Half is one of the best movie the Italian fans spoke about it. And also knowing the pain that George went through with the ending and everything, it's really not one of my favorite as well. But because I knew about that, and I feel pain for George in that. It's like even same thing for Monkey Shine, but no, again, as long as the fan base, it really loves Creepshow a lot, and of course the Dead Saga. I think that other than the Dawn of the Dead, the most beloved Italian title of the Dead Saga is Day of the Dead. That basically is my best, my most favorite movie in the saga, and George also, as far as he told me all the time. So yeah, and also Norman, we love Creepshow 2 in here as well. I'm sorry about that.
No, I mean, well, I have to say this is embarrassing. I went to Creepshow 2 on opening day on Times Square, and I was really nervous because Mike Gornick directed it, and I was like, maybe Michael has been like the secret behind George's success. Let me say, I like the movie. I've seen it like a dozen times, but George is the man. That's
of course.
And to answer that question, I mean, yeah, like this is a Japanese Blu-ray for Dark Half. I don't have Monkey Shines. I'll just show that this is Dark Half, Japanese version. I don't have Monkey Shines. I have Bruiser somewhere that has been released. I don't think it's on Blu-ray. It's on DVD. I saw that in the theater here. I mean, they were all released in the theater. They all played theaters here. Yeah, of course, I would have to say it's George's. In Japan, the #1 George movie would be Dawn of the Dead or Zombie. That was the one when that came out here. Actually, came out in Japan before the U.S. I think 2 months earlier. I mean, that was like no one had ever seen. I mean, everybody was like that. No one had ever seen anything like that. I mean, even like. You're talking like the Grudge director, Shimizu. Shimizu, that's like his favorite movie. He when I did my Dawn event recently, he was like, Norman, can I just be a guest? I want to get in for free. Can I just be a guest? He's getting Ken's autograph. He's getting Galen's autograph. I had my whole collection laid out. He's taking photos like of everything, and he's like one of the biggest directors. I've worked on zombie movies here, and there's always an homage somewhere to George's work. One of the directors I did not a very good movie. It was released in the U.S. called Hell Driver, and the director was like, George set the precedent that there has to be a political message in the film somewhere. So whenever he does a zombie film. Nishimura, who did Tokyo Gore Police, that's like his probably most famous. He always makes sure, because of George's, I don't want to say vision, because of his, criticism of the social structure, whatever, that's always in all of George's films. Even, all of them have something that he's trying to tell us about his observation. Other directors have said that George is the guy that showed them how to do that. Not necessarily, how to do zombies. He showed them how to put their own observations of their own, culture, the things that they want to get across into their films. And I'd say that that's one of, George's biggest contributions to, Japanese cinema. Kiyoshi Kurosawa is another one. I mean, he's a little more Tobe Hooper. He's always been like, he was a big, he always championed, Tobe Hooper's work when other people didn't see the value in it. But even like that, he's written extensively, because before he was a director, he was a reviewer. So he's written extensively about the importance of Night of the Living Dead. I have to say this about Night of the Living Dead in Japan was when Dawn came out, nobody had seen Night. It had never been released in Japan. So Dawn came out. Some people had heard about it. And one of my editors at my magazine, he's just about my age, they actually got a rental copy sent from the US to Japan so they could see what this movie was, a print sent to Japan so they could see what this movie was that, the Westerners were writing about, but had never been released until after, Dawn hit big. Then they brought Night in. So the Japanese order of it's like Dawn, Night, then Day. And Day is a huge hit here too.
It's a bit similar here, because I think whenever we run a poll, regarding the most popular of George's movies, it's always Dawn by a long way. And I'm a bit like you, Paolo. I have a place for Day. It's how I discovered George's work. I was about 9, and it was the mid-80s, and Day was out, and it was like, what the hell is this all about? And that led me to discover, Dawn, and then Night, and and then get caught up, because with Land coming out in 2005, I was pretty much caught up. But I think a lot of people are the same here. They discovered Night through Dawn, or even maybe through Day if they're a bit younger. Then they discover Dawn and Night. But that's great. I think it's great when people see a piece of work and then they want to go further and explore the back catalogue, and that's why we always try to impress upon everyone who we might meet, or might get talking about that there's earlier films, there's different films, and that they need to go and explore. And people do. I mean, we've got some really young fans we engage with. We've got a guy who attends our convention here in the UK. He's only 22, huge Night fan, loves a Night fan. And when he got to meet Judith, he couldn't believe he was. He's like, I'm in the same room as Judy O'Day. How is this even happening? How is this even possible? And I'm like, well, this is what we do. So we're so glad to be able to give you that experience. So it's growing all the time. It's growing, and we want to make it get bigger. So that's what we've got some plans for. In the months and years to come. Fingers crossed.
Absolutely.
Let's all hope we can do these things again. Which just missing so much convention and having fun and meeting guests, and I really would like to doing tomorrow. But Norman, I was thinking about the Suspiria thing. Like Suspiria came out in Japan before Deep Red, and Deep Red got titled Suspiria.
It's insane.
No. Alan's gone.
What he's talking about is Deep Red was what they released it as Suspiria 2 in Japan. I mean, it's completely baffling.
He's back.
You're back, Paolo. We lost you.
Yeah, I know.
Wait, say that again?
What?
Suspiria.
The Suspiria question.
My question was that as the same as Dawn of the Dead, Suspiria was released in Japan before Deep Red, and then right after Deep Red, it was prior to Suspiria, and it got titled Suspiria 2 in Japan.
Yeah,
So that was what I meant.
Yes, it's very confusing. It's the same thing. Like Dawn of the Dead here is zombie, and then Lucio Fulci's zombie is called Sangheria here. So it's like if I say, "Oh yeah, I love zombie," they think I'm talking about Romero's. No, I mean Fulci's. Wait, Sangheria. And Sangheria is not even a real word. It's like a made-up word. It sounds like sangria to me. I'm like,
I didn't know about that. It's such a weird thing.
Well, it's marketing. I mean, that was like, when Dawn of the Dead came out here, because Suspiria was such a big hit and no one knew George, so they promoted Dawn of the Dead as being directed by Dario Argento, which is one of the things that I've been on a mission to correct. Argento is God. I don't, but this is George's movie, so even like, what was like 8 years ago at an art theater, they were showing Dawn of the Dead, and I'm like, they're like directed by Dario Argento with George Romero, and I'm like, whoa. And my a sound man that I work with contacted me, Norman. I know you're gonna go ballistic over this. So check this out. I contacted him and said, you guys change your whole thing because this is wrong. They changed it, and like, can you come in and talk about the movie? So I went into this theater. It was fully packed, like, I don't know, 150 people, 200 people. I talked longer than Dawn of the Dead.
Oh.
We get that.
You have a recording of this somewhere?
Nobody left. And I was very upset because like they were writing on Twitter, like, Norman was more interesting than Dawn of the Dead. And I was like, that is an insult. That I will, I'll take it. But you're wrong, But no, I mean, and so it's like I felt like I've had to try to correct things like that. You know what I mean? Keep it like an eye on things. So that's been a thing I've been doing here for over 20 years, 25 years since I did this thing. Telling them that they were wrong to say Argento's version was the best version of the film. And of course those things are a matter of opinion. Yeah.
That's a real ambassador work, for real.
There you go.
There you go. Yeah.
Yes.
I can empathise with that. Back and Paolo, I wish we'd been in touch a bit more back towards the round about sort of the autumn of last year, because we ran a poll here in the UK for the fans to vote for their top 60 zombie movies. I don't know quite why 60, but we did. And of course, we had more than 60 entries come in. It was about 150 entries, some with only like a single vote. But when we started to get into the detail of it and work out, what film was going to be, above what and how many votes it had got and everything else. And it was for me a good experience because I learned a lot. We got into a world where a film can have the wrong director or 3 titles or been released in the country as a particular name that shares it with another film. We had about 8 entries with Living Dead in the titles. City of the Living Dead or The Children of the Living Dead or Night of the Living Dead, when you work out that City of the Living Dead was released as
Somebody voted for children.
And this and it's a real minefield, and it's great. We've got the likes of Norman and Paolo. It's saying that Julien can't make it because he's doing a similar thing in France. It's great that we've got passionate guys like this, getting out there and saying, look, no, that is wrong. It's this, and then being able to spread that message. It's really good.
I'll tell you one story about that. I mean, in Italy, the movie was advertised. I mean, the poster of Night of the Living Dead is being directed by George Kramer with a K. It's directed by George Kramer.
I shouldn't laugh, but
I tell you why. Because at that time in Italy, we had in the theater you could see anything. So, and lots of Mexican horror. So the distributor were probably scared that the people would think that George Romero was a Latin name for some Mexican horror. So they changed it to George Kramer. And George, when we were together in Florida, one of those nights we spent watching movies and stuff, I made a little interview to him, in which he he says for the first time in the world that George Kramer is exactly George Romero, and he signed my poster as George Kramer as the first time. It was so funny because
I would buy that. That
I would buy
that.
I'm not selling, but the thing is, he wasn't even in love with the Italian poster that you see a hand coming out of the ground, ground. And George, you always said, I don't even have the budget to do that. What they are talking about is not even what the movie is about. What's so funny about that? and I gave him a locandina with a hand to put in his house, and I think he did it.
Well, speaking of hands, check this out. Does anybody know what this is?
Un altro che ai pupazzi.
No.
Okay. Well, I hope Tom Savini's not watching, and I doubt that he is. But one of the things that I noticed when I was watching Dawn of the Dead was that when Peter gets the hand is caught in the thing, and then they slam the thing. Oh, he does the fire thing on this, and it pulls off. Or down in the basement. This is a hand that I used to buy as a kid, like a novelty thing in the toy store like this. And when I was doing research for my book, I was trying to find like little tidbit things in the background, I looked on eBay and some guy was selling this for $30.
Wow.
And and it's like, I haven't seen one of these since I was a kid in the 70s, but when you line it up and you look at the photos, like down in the basement and they're like eating things, it's like Tom bought these at like novelty shops to throw around.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and you can tell when the hand is pulling back that it's a little wobbly on the fingers, like this. But I imagine there's these were made in China, so this is like some Chinese guy's hand, it's like all through Dawn of the Dead. But anyway, I got one. It's like part of my Dawn collection now.
I think it's great you could walk into a store in the 70s and buy a false hand. There was growing up, I could never do. There was nowhere I could go.
Those as a kid, you do things like you put it on your hand and walk walk in the mall, and then it would drop off. I was like, that was what I was doing, shit like that when I was a kid. And I hadn't even seen. Actually, what I did, I have to say this: that in the 70s, after I saw Night of the Living Dead, my uncle, who was a Super 8 collector, got me a Super 8. 5 reels, Night of the Living Dead. I had the whole film of Night of the Living Dead, and I was like taking it to school. I was showing it like all over the place, like I don't know, like people who go door to door to promote their religion. I was making like everybody in the neighborhood watch Night of the Living Dead. I hang my screen outside. We had an apple tree with a big branch. I'd hang the screen down. Project it, and back then there was no VHS or anything, and people were just like fascinated to be able, you can watch a movie at home and it's not on your little 19-inch TV, so I was showing that thing to everyone, you know. And the funny thing was like Russ's tie in the beginning, because it's Super 8, you know, and the quality's not so good, we'd blow it up. It looked like he had a polka dot tie. And I was always like, that is so awesome, a polka dot tie. When I finally got to see the film in a higher resolution, I'm like, well, that's not polka dots. But that's, you know, that's kind of, you know, what is tie. But no, I mean, I must have seen that thing over 100 times. That I don't know how my uncle got it. It must have been, of course, an illegal copy, whatever. But I mean, I was pretty popular at school for like having that. So a little 70s story there. I'm sure nobody can relate. So forget it. No, but anyway, no, I mean, it's, yeah, so you can see, I mean, like all of us, I mean, George's work has been with me, you know, and I'm really glad that I got to grow up, you know, and be a part of it, especially like the prime years, you know, really for me. And you know, maybe I didn't see Martin in the theater, but really Dawn, those years between when Dawn came out and Day came out, you know, Creep Show, I mean, you know, Night Riders, you know, I went opening night, I was so excited, you know, see Night Riders, and you know, what is this movie going to be, you know, and I realized, and I know I've said this before, but I realized seeing Night Riders that, yes, I love zombies, I love George's take on that, but Night Riders is the film that made me realize, you know, that I love George's filmmaking style. I love the way, you know, I love Night of the Living Dead and Dawn of the Dead are very tonally, they're very similar if you look at them. I mean, they really feel like they're, you know, they were just shot back to back. I mean, they feel like that, you know, you can feel, you know, it's the same cinematic feeling on both of them. I think Night Riders is maybe a little more polished, you know, because Dawn of the Dead had such a hectic shooting schedule, you know, and it was such a big film. But I mean, yeah, even going to, you know, the Crazies. I mean, Crazies I saw on TV. I couldn't see that. But when I saw Crazies the first time, I'm like, oh my God, I love this guy. You know, he's the only like American filmmaker doing this type of stuff I identify with. I mean, you know, that's the thing. You know, Night of the Living Dead. Night of the Living Dead was like when I was in the 60s, sci-fi was really big. And all the horror movies were all British things. They were all castles, they were all that type of stuff, you know. And George was the guy was like, oh my God, this is not this isn't like another Dr. Frankenstein movie, you know what I mean? This is stuff I recognize these people, you know. And that was the same thing with Dawn of the Dead was, oh my God, I mean, I don't know these people in particular, but they were all people that I knew the types of people that were in them, you know. And it really, you know, it really touched me deeply. And it wasn't just because the zombies, and you know, Tom's work is incredible in the film, and it was very shocking and exciting and thrilling. And I get very angry when people today insult Tom's work on that film because they don't know what the hell they're talking about, because that opened the door for, you know, new techniques and, you know, easier ways to pull these things off. But I mean, Tom, it's a genius piece of work that he put out. It's incredibly impressive, you know. That's my dream, is to get in a time machine and just like be in the mall, you know, back in '77. Me and Matt, right?
That's right.
I mean, I'm so interested of you having been able to grow up and have all those films get released at a time when you can access them, because being a little bit younger, I'm not going to say I'm loads younger, but a little bit younger, it was only really Land and kind of beyond that we got the theatrical releases here of in the UK that I could kind of take advantage of. We are getting some re-releases. There was before the pandemic, we had a couple of guys up in the north of England here run a little cinema fest, and they screened Day and they screened Dawn, which is great. And you know, we've got to try and get more of that going on. I was lucky enough to see Dawn at the Monroeville Mall back in 2019, which was awesome. It was a 3D version, and that was really cool. You know, seeing it on the big screen for the first time and where it was made.
Who here has seen the 3D version? You guys suck. I'm sorry, Colin. I'm just like the one version. I have to say, I'm the only one who has seen the R-rated version when it played with Creepshow. So, and I complained, and I got my money back afterwards.
Wow.
So, but anyway, I'm sorry. I'm still a 3D virgin. I haven't seen it yet. That's like, you know.
We'll have to try to get Mike Gornick over to Japan somehow when we're allowed to go everywhere, go places again.
I'm sorry, I interrupted you. I rudely interrupted you, Colin. So you were saying you saw you had Dawn and Day playing.
Yeah, that was just saying. You know, one of the things we've got to try and do is get those films screened more. Certainly here in the UK, because you know I think there's a whole generation of fans that would like that. They missed it because of whether they're perhaps too young or whatever it may be. Of course, them films don't get a wide release anyway, so where you live might also mean that you don't necessarily get to see it if it's nowhere near where you live. So envious that you managed to get all those, Night Riders and it's strange what you said earlier with Creepshow and Creepshow 2, because it was similar here. Creepshow 2 you could find everywhere, and it was got released, on digital platforms, and it's on streaming services. And I actually think it's okay, maybe because it was my first exposure. That's what I saw first, and that's what I liked, and it has that kind of sentimentality. And Creepshows, was the hard to get to, was the hard to find. It's recently been released on some digital platforms here, which is great. So it's getting more and more kind of popularity and traction. And I do like it now, probably more than the second one. I've certainly watched it more. But it's strange how the sequels seem to just accelerate along with the the distribution and the publicity, and again kind of getting noticed while the first one had to sit idly by, which is very unjust, and something that we're fixing now, hopefully.
I have when Creepshow played, I grew up in a place called Rockland County. It's right outside of New York City. It's about 45 minutes driving. And the theater where I went on Creepshow opening night, second night, and I went the next weekend. I talked to the theater manager, and he was like, yeah, the movie, because it was jam-packed the first weekend, and then the numbers went down pretty quickly. But it was really fun to be there, and opening night, everything there. And I was like, I love the poster for this. He's like, yeah, you want it? I'll give it to you when the thing is the run is done. So I've got
nice.
But the poster is like the thickest paper I have ever seen, and unfortunately, it's like dried out because what is it, like almost 40 years? Right. So what I've got to do is mount it and never take it out. But it's the drawing of the creep thing. I mean, I'm sure you've all seen the poster. It's like, but I got it from the theater, but I've never seen it. It's like really laminated, really like it's almost like cardboard. I mean, it's rollable, but it's like that kind of like paper poster thing. I've never seen any. I wish it was the paper because it wouldn't have split, dried out the way it has. I guess it's something with the lamination. What was this? 82? Creepshow was 82.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 82.
Yeah. So.
You have to learn to take care more of the posters.
That's how they're saying.
The poster master is speaking.
It's a pain in my heart knowing that some good posters are feeling bad back in Japan because you don't know how to take care of them. That's bad. So,
the thing is, I slowly shrink. I don't know. I mean, I've got it wrapped in a tube, and it's been in a tube for like 300 years, and I pull it out every now and then to look at it, and and what should I do? Like rub Vaseline on it or something?
No, some stuff needs to be, like flat. Otherwise, it just destroys itself. If you say that there's laminated things inside, you should keep it flat.
Okay. Well, this is also place is pretty big, but it's not big enough unless I get. That's what I've got to get it in a. I've got to frame it. Unfortunately, Japan has these wacky poster sizes. We've got like B4, B5, whatever they are. So I can go out and I can buy a frame for like $20. But if I want to frame a US poster, I've got to go custom frame. and then it's like hundreds of dollars to get. I've got a Dawn of the Dead green poster. I'm dying to frame that thing so I can lord it over everybody. I got a green poster, which I got for $25 at a Fangoria convention. It was like 86. I went there. I was like, what is a green? I've never seen green before. And I was going to pass it up. And it's like, screw it. I'll buy it. $25. I'm like it's like one of the one I got that, and I bought a Dawn of the Dead script for $20, like a real script, with the orange cover on it. I got that for $20. I'm like, and wow. Let me tell you, that is like nothing compared to what I have passed up, lost. Yeah, I got one of those.
I got one of those.
I got one of those. No, but I mean, I this is like the two instances I didn't screw up. Let me put it that way. I've got 100 other stories that would bring a tear to your eye, like what I passed up, what I didn't do. I had like every Fantastic Four. I had every Spider-Man. All of those. My dad made me sell them. If I still had them now, I could buy. Spider-Man 1 is like $1 million now. I mean, really. I mean, it's like, holy shit, I got this thing for $20, back, in the 70s. So, and my dad though, when I give him a hard time about that, even though he's not with us, he's like, I had Action Comics #1. I had that. It was like there were 10 of those on the rack at your grandfather's pharmacy there. And I'm like,
actually, Norman, you've got me thinking. I might need to. This is going a little bit off topic, but I might need to send you some info. And I'm not expecting anything to be worth any amount, but I've got a bit of a stash because I used to be into manga comics before pretty much anything else, and I've got a stash of manga comics we could get from various places in central London, and they've got to be, I'd say, relatively good condition, near mint, and maybe 25 years plus old. Akira is probably the most famous. We've got some, I don't know, I wouldn't say it's a first edition. It's like maybe a first edition reprint or something. I have no idea if they're even in any kind of demand anymore. I might have to.
Yeah, I wouldn't know. I mean, my fiance, who's been my fiance for over a year now because of the pandemic. This is getting to be like Jim and Pam in The Office, if you know what I'm talking about. When she was engaged to the other guy, the guy in the warehouse, when Pam was engaged, like the world's longest engagement. But this is because of the pandemic, goddammit. But anyway, she's a manga artist, so she knows, about I don't know anything about. I gave up. Like I said, it's too painful for me to look at old comic books because I'm like, I don't even want to look at the prices. Like, you're kidding me? Fantastic Four 110 goes for this much money? I mean, that was like 50 cents. Who the hell wants Fantastic Four 110? I mean, we're trying to get I got to get all the Steve Ditko Spider-Men, the first 33 or whatever. Those are like now worth their weight in gold times 10. I mean, like, so anyway, so I have my 2 green poster and my Dawn of the Dead script, and now I can get all like, okay, I didn't screw up on 2 things.
2 things, yeah.
That's good, man.
Paolo's got an incredible movie poster collection.
Oh, Paolo's poster. Wow.
Seen some of it.
Been collecting since 84 actually, and recently got here. You can see these are the original artworks for the 2 Mario Bava's Italian poster for Operazione Paura, that is Kill Baby Kill in US. So basically, this is the 4 folio and this is the 2 folio by Everardo Ciriello. So these are the original artwork from where they made the poster out, and they are very rare. So, and I used to spend a lot of time with George, showing him my film noir poster collection. He loved them, and I hope I can do again same thing. Hoping this pandemic hell is finishing. I want to do exhibition all over the world.
You should come to Tokyo and do an exhibition here. That would be incredible.
Absolutely, man. That's when I can do a lot of stuff for, even, again, going on with Dario and Asia and Ruggero Deodato and Lamberto Bava all over the world with convention during this last 10, 15 years. I never been able to get in the Japanese market to come into Tokyo. And so now I really would like, Claudio, every time it comes to Tokyo, he's laughing like that. He's selling every merchandise in like 10 minutes. People like, buying everything. And, I know that they love Italian horror a lot, Japanese. Yeah. So, it would be great to do an exhibition of Italian horror poster, because I have stuff from Black Sunday, so from 1960 up to, late 80s, Lucio Fulci, all the thriller, everything.
Well, that stuff would go over big, and that's a thing too, because I would say almost in a way Italian horror is more popular in Japan than American horror, because there isn't a language. They need subtitles for both of them, so they're judging them on the merits of just the film itself. I mean, as an American, it's always easier, to watch a film that's set in your own culture, in your own language, than to watch. But even a lot of the Italian ones, they're the international releases. So they often, the ones here are with the English dubs. Now Blu-rays come out. They have both. They'll have the international dub, and then they'll go to the. But even so, even if it's English, they still need the subtitles.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. So it's more about the visual suggestion. Probably.
Right. Yeah. So all of those. I mean, I got a friend coming over tomorrow. He's a big, Fulci expert, and I mean, he writes all the books and he does all the Blu-ray essays on these things. And I can't find a friggin' horror movie he hasn't seen. Actually, tonight, speaking of Mexican horror, I watched the movie Don't Panic. I don't know if you know. It's horrible. He's coming over tomorrow, and Screaming Mad George did the makeup on the body. Is shot in Mexico, speaking of Mexican horror movies. But I'm going to try tomorrow, I'm going to show him the last 20 minutes of this movie is completely insane. So I'm going to show it to him, and I know he's going to say, yeah, I know this movie. I mean, I can't find a film this guy hasn't seen. It's like I'm on a mission. And I have to say, the guy's got no social life. You know what I mean? That's why he's able to have this vast knowledge.
Of course.
So it's always a trade-off, I mean, I'm on a mission to see every 80s horror movie. So, and luckily I'm with with Miyako. She's a big horror freak. So, I mean, the other night I'm like, you haven't seen Citizen Kane yet. You got to see that. And she's like, can't you show me some Vinegar Syndrome movie?
Norman, do you have the Vinegar Syndrome? Don't Panic.
Oh, yes, I do.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what I'm sorry. That's what I'm talking about. The Vinegar Syndrome.
I was wondering if you had the Vinegar Syndrome release of that.
Right? Do you have that?
Yeah. No, I've been. They just released a trilogy of that guy's films, and I want to check them all out.
Okay, well, I have to say, it started off really ridiculous, and it is I mean, mind-numbingly awful. But it's one of those films that's kind of God, it's what, what? And then the ending, those last 20 minutes, they go in, they find this friend of theirs lying in his underwear with socks that are so dirty. The socks are brown. How do you get your sock? And what are you lying? And Miyako's looking at the screen with her covering your face. And we're just laughing hysterically, oh. And then the movie just got oh my God, this is an incredible film, I mean, you know what I mean by incredible.
Yes.
The Forgotten Giallos, they are great. They are three box sets of Forgotten Giallos, all wonderfully restored, and it's really great stuff. It's really good. But I was saying about poster that even George poster in Italy are incredibly good and completely different artwork from the international ones. So if you go to my website, you can see the exhibition I did when George came to Lucca with all the big, like the Crazies portfolio, the Creep Show, and even Dawn of the Dead portfolio with all the ants. I think it's one of the most beautiful artwork internationally. So, should check that out.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I helped your website. It's very good. I was amazed just how much you've got on there. It's just really great. I was.
Yeah, I've been negligent. I haven't promoted
5% of my collection, man. So
yeah.
Well, I guess Julien is not showing up. So
yeah, I was going to say, Colin, your theory failed.
The 1 hour theory didn't hold up there.
No, I was checking the email. He was trying to get in. It was giving him some error. So we'll have to, Colin. We'll definitely have to round him up for our next GARF Global.
We'll work out why France is trying to stifle his free speech. No, I'm sure it's not. It's not.
But actually, yeah, definitely. We'll have to gather back up again and bring Julien on. And we've been making this. I don't know. Last time we got together was in January, so we'll have to do this in another 3-4 months. Let's make sure and gather back up, because hopefully, like everybody's been saying, it sounds like events are starting to clear up, and things are starting to events are starting to happen. So
I think the UK, for reasons that we won't go into here, we seem to be really good with the vaccinations and getting things opened up. So there's a couple of big conventions coming up that are going to run. London Film and Comic-Con is going to run in the summer, which will be quite exciting. And they've got a Freddy Krueger costume suit, which would be pretty cool. They've got some horror guests as well, which would be good. Then there's a horror convention in the autumn should be quite good. And I can't say too much, but there's a couple of events I'm personally looking to get involved with that GARF can be affiliated to. So I'll definitely update you on those, because we'll have good updates on those by the time we come back. I just wanted to say, and this is for all the guys, we all run ambassador Twitter accounts for our respective territories. So if you're not on those, hit those up. It's typically the GARF and an underscore, and then the country. So Italy, obviously, for Paolo, and Japan for Norman, and the UK for me. And that's how we tend to get the news out and spread the word. So if guys can get on those, even if you're not in those territories, hit up those accounts, and you'll get all the good news of what is going on in those territories. And we tweet and we share, amongst ourselves. So all the accounts are all linked up and getting the good news out there.
Excellent. All right, guys. Well, I guess until next time, I don't know, Matt, we give you the floor for a second.
So I apologize. I'm dropping in and off. I don't know what's going on, but I mean, it's just nice to see you guys. Norman and I go back almost 25 years now. His Zombie Farm was the first George Romero website I hit on the internet. I still remember my first email to him. I was so nervous, and now he's one of the greatest people and best friends that I've ever had. And Paolo and I, we were lucky enough to meet at a convention, over 10 years ago now, with Dario and everything. And Colin, the UK connection, and Eric and I are going on 20 years. It's just great that you guys are in your respective countries. I hate it because we don't get together in person all the time, but there's not a better group of folks to help with the message of the GARF and George and keeping his legacy alive. We all have those, intimate connections that mean so much to us, and it shows how much we care. And we want to spread that word. And I love hearing how George is viewed in other countries and his movies. And it's an everlasting thing. It's never really died off. It's always been there. And I think it's even bigger now than before. Unfortunately, with him not being here, we're bringing more people into the fold, and people are looking at his films differently as we get older and go back and watch them just slightly different. And we're picking up more stuff. And it's like we rediscover these movies every few years and getting back together. And Norman may watch a movie and go, I never noticed this. And you go, really? And you go back and you discover it and you share that. You guys are fantastic. I love everything you guys do. Thank you to Suze for bringing us all together in this capacity to help with George. Yeah. We love you, Suze, and everyone at the GARF. You guys are wonderful. I really just enjoyed sitting here listening to you guys talk. That was what I was hoping for, just to hear the stories and laugh with you guys. This is wonderful. I can't wait to do it again.
Yeah, that's
awesome. I'll definitely be back.
I'll second that. Can't wait to do it again. And yeah, I can't think of anybody better than the two of you and Colin as well to be representing the GARF. So, and
also laughing is the best way we can choose to remember George, right? It's all about that, having fun and laughing about anything, even death.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully we're going to start doing vaccines here next month. So It's been 65 and older. So, I'm hoping that we can get out there, next out to the Pittsburgh area, so I can at least hang out with Sir Eric and not walk this Sir. Next year, I want to get out there, and get back to the mall, Pittsburgh, beautiful city. And there's another thing I have to say, if it wasn't for George, I would never have ever gone to Pittsburgh in my life, really, even though I'm a New Yorker. That is freaking far. I took a bus once. I'm like, this is like 8 hours, like you look at the map, I'm like, what, shouldn't this be like, 2.5 hours, New York to Pittsburgh? But that's pretty far, and yeah, I made my first pilgrimage to the mall in '83, but I've been over there and I still, Pittsburgh, I can understand. I've always read how George said how he fell in love with the city, and it's like, oh my God, it's a beautiful city. The sunsets there are incredible. The Allegheny, the whole city is like, oh my God, I love New York. But man, if I had to pick a second city, and I wouldn't have known it if it wasn't for George. And it's like, you guys. Going out there, I was there for the 50th of night. That was a lot of fun. Mm-hmm. That was great. I met so many wonderful people. I hate when the thing I hate is those things go by so quickly, and then they're over.
Yeah.
But I want to do it again, So I'm looking at 2022 to be back in at least Eric and Matt's area. I hope, Colin, I haven't been in the UK since 1970.
Come across, come over. You're more than welcome.
I was pissed when I went to Europe. I did a whole 6 months in Europe, in England, with my parents, and I missed Beneath the Planet of the Apes in the movie theater. And I told my parents, I'm like, you realize what you're doing to me? You're taking me to Europe for 6 months. I got out of the 5th grade early to travel around the world, and I'm going to miss Beneath the Planet of the Apes. How can I even face school in September?
Those monsters, your parents were real monsters, man.
Terrible. That big free traveling.
I realized what a stupid thing that was to say, but still, I love traveling, and I've never been to Italy. I'd love to get to Italy, and I've gone through Italy, with my family, driving through, but we've never really, I really don't know the place, I'm
waiting, all of you. We're gonna make a GARF reunion in front of a nice dinner my way.
So, absolutely.
Yes.
Count on it. That's happening.
Okay. Yeah, it's going on 2 a.m. here, so I'm going to have to.
All right, guys.
Here.
All right, for everybody here at the GARF, I'm Eric.
And I'm Matt.
Colin, you sign off too,
I'm
buddy.
Colin, and I can just say thanks for having us and the ambassadors.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, guys. We'll see you next time. Right. Bye, everybody.
See you guys. Thank you.